Welcome, everybody. It is July 3rd, and we are the Early Edge. I am the Counselor of Cash. The coach will be back with us tomorrow, not just for the Early Edge, but also for the Early Wedge, which I will get to in just a second. Thank you, everybody, for being with us. Hit the like button if you could. Let's take a look at what we accomplished yesterday. It was me. It was Proppy. It was the Sniper. A nice 4-in-1 day. Nice bounce back from the day prior. We will take that every time. And for the record, I was on CBS Sports HQ and mentioning Ricky Fowler around 11:30 Eastern Standard Time. The reason I mentioned that is there was only a few people contending at that time, but the Ricky number dropped when I was on HQ. It dropped from -200, actually -300 to -150. A lot of people wrote me notes yesterday afternoon saying they put a little bit on that play because it had dropped to -150 when Colin Morikawa and Adam Hadwin were emerging. So some of you hit that as well. Speaking of CBS Sports HQ, let's take a look at what we have going on today. You know the Early Edge and CBS Sports HQ motto, no days off. We've got the Maestro on at 1:30 Eastern Standard Time. The Maestro is back at 6 o'clock with Propstarz. And guess what? Propstarz will be talking NFL props. We are only Joe Jacoby days away from NFL kickoff. Of course, that is 66 days away, so stay tuned for that. And before I bring on the stars of the show, I do want to mention the Early Wedge. We're going tomorrow, as we always do, except we have a different start time. We are starting at noon Eastern Standard Time tomorrow. I did mention Coach will be back for that show. So the John Deere Classic Early Wedge, 12 o'clock, noon Eastern Standard Time, not our regular 3 o'clock. All right, that's all the preliminary stuff. It's time to actually bring on some more people, the actual stars of the show. So let's get to it. And we don't have any time to waste because we have an all-star full lineup with the Maestro, with Buckets, with Proppy. And ladies and gentlemen, we are going to do Pick the Prop. We're actually going to do marquee matchups. So let's get it started with which favorite are we fading or following today? We've got the Cincinnati Reds -120. We got the San Francisco Giants -140. And we've got the Atlanta Braves -160. Proppy, I'm going to start with you. Which of these favorites are you fading or following today?
Sia, I'm not sure how anybody right now could do anything but follow these Atlanta Braves, the hottest team in baseball. They've won 16 of 17 games. They are averaging 7.7 runs over these last 17 games. The hottest offense in the majors right now. Oh, and they have a pitcher in Bryce Elder on the mound with a 2.6 ERA this season. So, yeah, I am riding with Atlanta, the Braves. They are playing so well. I think this is the best team in baseball. They're playing like the best team in baseball. And, yeah, how can you go with anybody but Atlanta?
Yeah, Atlanta's good. And they'll probably, spoiler alert, they're probably going to be featured on our next segment, the Pick the Prop home run segment, where we don't know what Buckets is going to do there. Maybe he's going to go on the board. Maybe he's going to go off the board. I have no idea. But before we even get to Buckets, I got to get to the Maestro, because Maestro, I agree with what Proppy said about the Atlanta Braves. And listen, I like them too. I also like, in terms of fading or following, I also kind of like the Mariners, because I think this Brian Wu kid is potentially the real deal. And we're probably getting a decent plus price here on the Seattle Mariners. With that said, hard to go against the Braves. Where are you at on this one? Fading or following? Which of these favorites?
Yeah, I like the Braves, of course. But the Reds were -130 overnight. Now it's -120. How long can Luke Weaver do this? You know, the 10.29 ERA in June gets lit up every time, and the team scores 9 runs per game for him. They've scored 11 twice for him. They're going up against the Nats, who come off a nice 6-3 trip, and they have rookie Jake Irvin on the mound, a 2.70 ERA over his last 3 starts. So I agree with the move on the Nats as a live dog.
Yeah, you know, the thing about the Nats, Larry, is they tend to just not get the respect that they deserve. Not that they're some monster team, don't get me wrong, but do you agree that perhaps just entire season, like, people are just undervalued because of the roster? There's not a lot of name recognition there, that people are maybe undervaluing the Nats, and they're covering some numbers more often than not, it seems like to me, Larry.
Yeah, no, they've bitten me a few times for sure this season. We know they don't strike out a lot, but this Luke Weaver trend, I mean, I don't buy the thing that a team scores for a certain pitcher, you know, which a lot of people seem to buy into. I don't buy that. I don't think they can continue putting up 10 runs a game for Luke Weaver.
Yeah, I don't buy into that at all either. And I think this is a really good spot maybe to take the Nats as a dog here. All right, we got to go to Pick the Prop. We got to get some home runs on the board. But before we do that, let's hear a message from our partners.
Get breaking news,
Big news coming out of the NFL today.
highlights, and instant reactions.
The largest final round comeback in tour championship history. We're down to the final four.
I just want to take time to analyze greatness.
Talk winners and losers with a guy who's already a big winner.
CBS Sports HQ. It's all sports all day long.
All right, we're back, and it's the Pick the Prop, the segment. Pick the Prop, the segment. That really should be what it's called, because Buckets, you're the guy here. You kind of like created a monster, in my opinion, by going off the board with Jorge Soler. I'm going to make you wait just a little bit longer, though, Buckets. I know you've got some soccer picks for us today, too, but I got to be honest. I'm more intrigued by what you're going to do with this graphic, what you're going to do with the home run prop pick. Maestro, I'm going to start with you this time. We got Matt Olson at plus 225, his teammate Ronald Acuna at plus 375, and Mike Trout at plus 300. Maestro, where are you going?
Well, I can't play Mike Trout because Blake Snell doesn't give up any runs anymore. 7 starts and I believe only 4 earned runs in that entire time. You look at this rookie for the Guardians, Gavin Williams. He's been great. You look at the minors, but he's a little bit more susceptible to left-handed pitching. So I'm going to go with the chalk. Matt Olson, he leads the NL, 28 homers, 11 homers last month. I know it's only plus 225, but to me, it's the best shot here.
Yeah, and Proppy, I'll go to you next. We got 2 Braves here. We've got Mike Trout. I completely understand Maestro's point about maybe not taking Mike Trout here against Blake Snell. Where are you going?
Yeah, I'm going to stick with Maestro here. I agree. Matt Olson, I agree it's chalk, but how can you really go with anybody else? 26 home runs this season, been absolutely phenomenal. Gets to face the rookie pitcher who has pitched well, but if we look at his strength of schedule, he's only had 2 starts, and they have become against subpar teams. So obviously a completely different story when you're facing the Atlanta Braves. So give me Matt Olson.
Absolutely. And the chat, very active, talking about some plays that they like, talking about yesterday, hitting the first 5. They were they weren't super happy about going against Zach Allen yesterday, but we know that ended up working out. Buckets. We've got Mattles. We've got Mike Trout. We've got Ronald Acuna, but we've got Buckets too. So I don't know what's going to happen. I just know it's probably going to hit. Buckets. First of all, sorry for taking so long to get to you. I know you're going to have a lot to say later in the show as well, but where are you on this home run prop?
Yes, yeah, I haven't talked yet, so I got to make sure that the voice is all, ready to give out this fantastic take here. And I'll be honest, I was going to go off the board once again here, but my buddy, my best friend, my partner in crime here, Propstarz, don't even know his name apparently, convinced me to do otherwise. I've been hearing all this hype all show about how good the Braves are. It's time for me to back one of these Braves players, but I'm not going to take the chalk here. I'm going to go with Ronald Acuna Jr., who was on the board at plus 375. If we're saying that the Braves are going to take advantage of this rookie pitcher and a lot of these guys are going to have some good chances, I like that number at plus 375 for a guy that has hit 3 homers in his last 5 games here, Senna, and has 21 here moving forward.
Yeah, I got to say, Maestro and Proppy, I agree with Buckets. That was going to be my pick as well, and it's still going to be my pick. I don't care if he's my nemesis or alleged nemesis. I'm going with Buckets on this one. I'm going with Ronald Acuna at plus 375. Hey, maybe Olson and Acuna are going to hit home runs. That's certainly within the range of outcomes. Also within the range of outcomes is hearing a message, another message from our partners.
You gonna start the engine sometime soon, Erica?
Do you know the odds of all of us being here at this time? It's improbable, yet here we are, together.
Hold on to your saddles.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're finally at the expert picks portion, and I want to get mine out of the way right away. I've actually got 2 picks in the same game. It's a team that I've been backing for quite some time, although I did have to lay off for a while because the price was just prohibitive. Because those Texas Rangers, listen, people have caught on. We see when teams start rolling, especially these underrated teams. Finally, it might take a month, it might take 6 weeks, but teams start to catch on. But I do think we're getting good prices in this Rangers game. So I have 2 bets for you. And by the way, this game's at 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. This is an afternoon game. Hopefully we'll get 2 wins by 3:30 Eastern Standard Time. Rangers first 5 money line. That's the first one I'm going with. It's Perez and it's Christian Javier. It's not that I love Perez here. I just really like fading Christian Javier, who has been very bad. 3 of his last 4 starts, he's really been bad. He rocked by the Cardinals, rocked by the Mets, rocked by the Guardians. He's not striking anyone out either. Perez has been okay. To the extent his ERA is even decent, it's a little bit of fool's gold, and Houston does hit lefties pretty well, which is why I'm also bringing in the Rangers-Astros first 5 over 5. So I've got 2 bets here. I really think both can come in. I'm not one to parlay these, so I'm not going to – I know that's the first thing that comes to mind, especially in the same game. I'm taking these bets separately. But I think Javier is going to struggle. I also think Perez is going to struggle to a degree. So I really like the over here of 5. And I like Perez just because Perez has been at least a little bit better than Christian Javier. And I do like the lineup, believe it or not, especially without Jordan. I do like the Texas Rangers bats more than the Houston bats. Texas is at home. I will point out that Perez is much better at home than on the road. I don't know that that's going to matter a ton here against Houston's bats, but it's definitely notable. So give me the Astros Rangers first 5 over of 5 at -110 and the Rangers first 5 money line at -122. All right, those are my 2 picks. Again, that game starts, I believe, at 2:10 Eastern Standard Time. And Proppy, you're next. What's the MLB pick?
Yes, I want to point out real quick, I love that look as far as Texas is concerned in this spot. I love picking on Javier. Wouldn't surprise me if Javier struggles today to see him pop up on the 15-day injured list if he does have another bad start, which I totally think is the most likely outcome here looking at that spot. So great pick by you, Sia. But yeah, we are going to go full contrarian today and fade Domingo Germán coming off of the perfect game. I like him to go under 17.5 outs. That is fewer than 6 innings pitched. If we look at guys who have had perfect games since 1988, I believe it's 18 perfect games, and we look at their stats immediately afterwards, they regress big time. Obviously, they're not going to replicate a perfect game, but even compared to their baseline averages, they tend to pitch fewer innings, give up more hits, higher ERA, and just typically have a big letdown performance coming off of a perfect game. This number is big for Germán. I think it's largely as a result of that excellent performance versus what is essentially a AAA team in Oakland. So facing the Orioles today, love fading Germán. He doesn't typically go deep very often at all. So I think this is an excellent opportunity to fade him in what is a inflated line.
Proppy, I want to ask you something just following up on this, and I love this play as well. The Orioles are actually going into New York as a slight favorite. I'm not asking you to make a pick. I was actually surprised just because of the Yankees name recognition. I just assumed maybe this will flip, and maybe it has flipped a couple of times over the yesterday evening. But I'm curious if you like the Orioles as well, whether it's a first 5 or a full game. If you had a lean, if you don't have a lean, please let us know. But if you had a lean, would you actually go with Tyler Wells and the Orioles here, or is it just a stay away? It doesn't sound like you'd be on the Yankees.
Yes, I don't like the Orioles. I love the Orioles today. Very likely going to make them a pick, actually. Just this Yankees offense without Aaron Judge. They just cannot generate runs. Tyler Wells has pitched very well this season. I think the Orioles bats are due too. They've struggled over the last 5-6 games. I think they come alive today against Germán, like the pitching matchup as well. You mentioned Tyler Wells. I think he's been Baltimore's best starter. So I actually love this spot for Baltimore.
Fantastic. I love that you love the spot. All right. Well, then maybe we're taking the Orioles. And probably one last question. If you don't have a pick on the early edge, where can we find your picks again?
Yeah, you can find me on the SportsLine app. I will have a K-Prop article that will be due out within the next couple of hours, and you will also see plenty of picks featured on the site, which I've already put out one already this morning.
If that is music to your ears on this July 3rd holiday week, put in the chat, I love Proppy. I'd appreciate that. Also, hit the like button if you would. I'm starting to love this next guy that's going to have some picks, and I can't believe I'm saying it, but if you watched his basketball hype video that he released, 4 days ago now, I gotta say, it was pretty impressive. If you need to find that, tweet at him, tweet at me, and we'll go ahead and we'll send you the direct link to that tweet. But it was pretty awesome. What he did with the basketball was kind of a soccer ball, to be honest with you. He was trying to hide that, but it was impressive nonetheless. We're going to have some hype videos going back and forth. I've certainly released my fair share of them. But Buckets, your hype video today is going to be your soccer picks. So I'm going to let you finally have the floor. What do you have for us today?
Thank you so much here, Sia. And I want to start by saying that I also do love Proppy as well. Coach has banned me from typing in the chat, so I have to say that now because I'm not allowed to type anymore. But let's start off with 2 picks this afternoon, and the first game starts at 1 p.m., so make sure you get these bets in now. And we're going to be starting with the Swedish Allsvenskan, which is the top flight of Swedish soccer. And we're doing one of my favorite things to do in the soccer betting space. We're focusing on a team that's really, really good at home that's playing against a team that is shambolic on the road. We talk all the time about how important home field advantage is. And when we're looking at the matchup between Elfsborg and Hammarby, this is a match where that makes a ton of sense here. Elfsborg has won 4 of their last 5 home games and have only a single loss all season long. And they're taking on a Hammarby side that is yet to win a single game on the road. Elfsborg simply outclasses Hammarby. However, the money line is a bit too juiced here, sitting at -175. So what I'm doing is parlaying Elfsborg money line with over 1.5 goals here to bring that all the way down to a very playable -120 for me. Then for my second pick, I'm doing actually the exact same bet, but a different league here. And I'm looking at the matchup between Liverpool Montevideo versus Deportivo Maldonado and the Uruguayan Primera Division, which is the top flight of Uruguayan soccer here. And they're in something currently called the intermediate round, which is a little bit of a playoff. They have the main season, a playoff, and then the second half of the main season. So this is kind of the bizarre period in Uruguay. However, currently Liverpool is leading the intermediate round here with 3 wins, where they have outscored their opponents 9-3. On the opposite end of that, Maldonado, I'm so bad at these team names. Maldonado is yet to win a single match during this intermediate period, as they have lost 3, scoring only 1 time in these 3 games while conceding 5 goals here. I'm doing the same bet because I want to get this juice down to a playable line. So I'm taking Liverpool on the money line, plus over 1.5 goals here, Sia, at plus 100, even money at 2 p.m. this afternoon.
Buckets, real quick. What was the word you used at the beginning there? Was it shambolic?
Shambolic.
Well, the chat is marveling over that lingo. What does that mean? What does shambolic mean?
I got to be completely honest and transparent, as I always am with everyone, Sia. I don't know what the word means, but I heard the guru say it when talking about a bad team one time. And so I've been doing it for a couple of months now, and nobody's called me out yet. So I'm just going to keep doing it.
You don't have to know exactly what it means. So it means something bad. You are ridiculing a team when you use that word. Is that fair?
Yes, that's fair to say.
Buckets 2024.
Yes. The guru shows that he is not even on. I absolutely love that.
Real quick, the other day, Guru said that this team was going to put these other teams' head to the sword, and I'd never heard that either, but I've used that in multiple articles now. I'll say, we all know Chelsea's going to put their head to the sword, right? And people are like, yeah, we do, and I just kind of go with it.
I absolutely love that. Another thing I absolutely love before we get to the Maestro is that Wimbledon has started. And I think you all know that Mike McClure is going to have some picks on SportsLine on this very show when it comes to Wimbledon, but there's a new kid in town at SportsLine as well, Jose Honorado, who comes into Wimbledon 50-36-1, and that's plus 14, and I think it's plus 14.4 units. So keep an eye out for him, whether it's on Twitter or the SportsLine app or in general. He's going to have some Wimbledon picks. He actually issued Djokovic as his futures pick at -150. And you might think, well, that's kind of juicy. Well, if you know the facts behind Djokovic and what he's been doing, the juice is certainly worth the squeeze, but perhaps more importantly, this is all the way up to -180 now. So if you were a SportsLine member, you could have gotten it at -150. Now it's -180. It's not a super great number. Up to you whether you want to bet that. But the point is, these picks are out on SportsLine, and when they're out, the juice usually changes. So please be on the app. Maybe turn your alerts on for Jose as well, because Wimbledon's going to be. We got a lot of these early morning matches. You're going to want to get these notifications from him and Mike McClure. All right, finally. Let's get to the man who's going to be all over CBS Sports HQ later today, and who has the Maestro spot. That's the last spot. It's typically some of the best picks we'll have on this show, and he's got 2 picks for us. They're MLB picks. Maestro, you have the floor.
I'm riding with you, Sia, in terms of the Rangers and in terms of Christian Javier not getting it done today. When you look at 6 strikeouts over his last 4 starts, the velocity is down on his fastball. And I'm going to target him with Nathaniel Lowe, batting third in that order from the left side, where Javier gives up an 810 OPS to left-handed batters. And Lowe has a 900 OPS career against Javier, including a homer, including 4 walks. So I think he's going to be in the middle of some rallies. Homer, 2 RBIs yesterday, over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs at -130. That's the way I'm attacking that Rangers game, and hopefully we all cash. And then another early start, going with the Cubbies and Drew Smyly. I tried to fade the Brewers yesterday against a left-handed pitcher. Everybody knows they're last in OPS against left-handers, 644. Rich Hill pitched well, but then made a mistake for a 3-run homer, and the Brewers ended up getting the win. But I'm going to try it again with Drew Smyly today. He's been shellacked two of his last three starts, but every time he gets hit hard, he comes back strong. And he's actually been much, much better on the road this year with the 2.74 ERA. On the other side, Julio Teheran, an amazing story, pitching for the Staten Island Ferry Hawks last year, completely out of baseball for a while, came up with 6 great starts, but then last time out, 4 homers allowed to the Mets, 7 runs. This guy is throwing in the 80s. His fastball is in the high 80s. I don't know how he's been getting it done. All credit to him, but I think the Cubs with Smiley get the win in Milwaukee.
Shellacked, shambolic. I'm supposed to be the lingo guy. You guys are really upstaging me today. I'm actually very impressed, and so is the chat. I see you, Big Cheesy. A lot of you just loving the vernacular used. I had to break out a big word, right? The vernacular, the lexicon used on this show. Are you counting the syllables or the letters, Buckets?
The syllables.
Yeah, fair enough. All right. I think you went a little bit too far there, but let's bring. We've had a great show. We're gonna have a better show once the day is done because a lot of these picks are going to cash. Let's bring up those picks. The recap screen. We've got me with 2 picks in the same game. Again, this is the early game. It's 2:00. Astros Rangers first 5 over 5 at -110. Rangers first 5 money line -122. The Maestro Cubs money line -110. Nathaniel Lowe over 1.5. Hits, runs, RBIs at -130. Don't forget, you can catch the Maestro, Larry Hartstein, on CBS Sports HQ a couple of times later today. Site play, Djokovic, Wimbledon champion, -150. That has gone up, but don't forget to turn your notifications on. Wimbledon will be starting on the earlier side of things day to day. Propstarz, who is also going to be on CBS Sports HQ, has Domingo Germán under 17.5 outs at -115. And then finally, Buckets, Elfsborg money line plus the over 1.5 -120, and Liverpool money line plus the over 1.5 at +100. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that's all the damage we can do today. Clearly, you see me. I'm at the Louvre, so I will be back in my confines in a couple of days. But the good news is you're going to have the coach back in his confines, his regular confines, tomorrow. So don't forget to catch all the coverage on CBS Sports HQ. Don't forget to catch the early edge tomorrow at 10, where Coach will be in the seat. And, of course, the special time for the early wedge tomorrow at 12 Eastern Standard Time. Thank you so much, everybody, for being in the chat. Thank you for hitting the like button. Thank you for being so active. But when it's all the damage we can do, there's only one thing left to do. You've got your marching orders. Let's take all of these tickets straight to the pay window. 4 Buckets, 4 Proppy, for the Maestro, for Jake the Snake on the 1s and 2s and 7s and 8s. I am your counselor, and we rest our case.